Good morning, everyone, and welcome into North Dakota Today. Right now, we are taking a moment to shine a spotlight on our mental health. Have you ever wondered why you maybe obsessively chew your nails or bite your lip on a regular basis? Well, you may be demonstrating what is known as a body-focused repetitive behavior. With us to explain more this morning is licensed psychologist Renee Renardi. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so wonderful to have you.
It's wonderful to be here for BFRB Awareness Week.
Okay, yes, thank you. So it is an acronym. So explain again what BFRB is and what maybe symptoms people could be exhibiting in their behaviors.
BFRB stands for Body-Focused Repetitive Behaviors, and these are unwanted, very difficult to change. People really struggle with hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, biting the lips, biting of the cheek, the tongue. It can be hair cutting behavior and nose picking as well. So of course, everybody engages in these behaviors to some extent, but when they cross into a clinical level is when they become a BFRB.
So there's basically a spectrum of behaviors. So maybe we think, oh, it's a bad habit, but how do we know if it's clinical or not?
It becomes a clinical issue when people are really struggling to stop and there's consequences, physical consequences and emotional consequences, even interpersonal consequences that result from these behaviors. And people oftentimes will experience, for instance, with trichotillomania, compulsive hair pulling, complete hair loss, no eyelashes, no eyebrows, no scalp hair, no body hair sometimes. So these can be very serious clinical issues.
Does it take years to develop something like this, or could it happen quickly? Do we know in the research in that of how they develop?
The course varies a bit. Typically, BFRBs start in childhood or adolescence, and they do have a waxing and waning course, kind of up and down for many people. Sometimes it comes on very quickly for people, and within a very short amount of time, they can notice significant nail damage, skin damage, or hair pulling.
So again, what if you're thinking it's just a bad habit I have? How do we know that it is super serious and maybe we need to seek help?
Sometimes people will find that these behaviors do not last very long for them. They'll have a stressful time in their life, or they're not sleeping well. There may be certain antecedents that are contributing to a shorter course of that behavior. But for many, it is a behavior that they really struggle to stop on their own. And 1 out of 20 people actually find that it's very difficult for them to stop on their own, and it goes from a subclinical into a clinical level that requires intervention.
Wow. Okay. So maybe somebody's listening right now and thinking, oh gosh, I myself, or maybe I know somebody. How do you seek help with this type of thing without feeling embarrassed or maybe without feeling stigmatized?
Yeah, and I think that that's a great point. A lot of people with BFRBs feel a lot of shame and guilt. They think that they should just be able to stop on their own. It doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal. Why can't I just stop? But that's not often the case for many people with these conditions, and they can go to great lengths to try to hide their behavior. And so it's really important for people to understand that they are not alone, and that's why it is BFRB Awareness Week, to let people know that. And there are a number of resources available this week. If people are on Facebook, there's a great connection page called BFRB Connect, and that lists a bunch of resources and things going on this week.
Can we go over again just maybe some of those behaviors and what it all truly means?
Absolutely. So compulsive hair pulling is the one that's most often talked about and the one that has received the most attention. Even though it's just relatively recent that these behaviors have been looked at in the clinical literature, they've existed as long as humans have existed. Even animals engage in body-focused repetitive behaviors, plucking of their fur, their feathers, even fish. So we're not alone with these behaviors. And it's really exploring, what might be contributing to those. With hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, those are the ones most oftentimes researched and experienced by people. So we believe, as far as research shows us so far. But it's good for people to know that it is common, it is treatable, and we have to look at what's called a functional behavioral analysis. What are the antecedents? What are the things leading up to the behaviors?
Can we explain what an antecedent is, maybe?
So antecedents, as a psychologist, we do ABCs, antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. So when I'm working with somebody who's engaging in skin picking behavior, for instance, and maybe they're picking skin on their back or on their face or on their legs, we'll talk about not just the behavior itself, but what happened just before. When do you find yourself engaging in those behaviors?
Okay.
So we use an acronym called TIMES MAP. Thoughts, images, memories, emotions, sensations. Those are the times.
Yeah.
And we also look at the map, the movements that people do. So if I'm engaging in hair pulling, for instance, and I pull my eyebrows, and I kind of rest my arm up like this, I want to look at things like posture and the movements of the body. I want to look at emotion. I want to, the A of MAP stands for assessing for vulnerabilities. How are people doing with their sleep, exercise, nutrition, co-occurring mental health conditions, co-occurring medical conditions like eczema and things that could be exacerbating, for instance, skin picking behavior or itchiness on the scalp, which then can lead to hair pulling. So we explore those antecedents, and then we look at the behavior itself. How is the behavior carried out? When is the behavior carried out? What do they do after pulling hair, for instance? So often people will pull hair and examine the hair root. They might bite off the hair root, wrap it around their tongue, rub it on their lips, and then throw it out afterwards. So we want to look at the behavior. We want to look at the consequences.
Wow.
The immediate consequences, when people have a BFRB, it feels good to pull their hair, pick their skin. It feels like they're doing exactly the right thing that their brain is telling them to do.
Yep.
It's later that those negative emotional consequences oftentimes kick in.
Got it. Yeah, it's the whole routine. Thank you so much for providing an incredible wealth of knowledge. Where can we go if we want to seek maybe treatment or just more information in general?
I'm happy to talk to anyone. I'm really easy to find. I also have a book coming out, the BFRB Recovery Workbook, just in time for BFRB Awareness Week. So that will be out in the mail in about 2 weeks for people who've pre-ordered that on Amazon.
Wow.
And that's a resource. There are a number of resources. Feel free to contact me. I'm easy to find. LakeSideCenter.org is our website.
And we'll have this posted online as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, wow. We're learning so much today. Stick around. This is for you, home chefs. Cooking with Cashway is up next.